is Danny, and I give you a quick market update today on blockchain and crypto. For that, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a sec. Let's start with some news. We have again a lot of positive news. For example, Societe Generale, which is a large financial institution in France, out of France, I believe, proposed a historic 20 million loan, tokenized bonds essentially on the blockchain. Yeah, so a traditional institution, bank, is using and experimenting with blockchain to tokenize a loan. You might know that you can tokenize or bring any financial instrument on chain, loans, debt, bonds, which is debt. All of that could be in theory tokenized. So instead of selling it in a traditional way to investors, you can sell it via token in a smaller fraction to potentially a broader investor crowd. By fractionalizing it, means cutting it in small pieces, means tokenize it. Essentially, you could in theory have retail investors as little as $100, for example, investing in a token which represents a fraction or part of the bond. So that will open new opportunities, of course, not just to onboard institutional investors. However, we are a little bit far off that because there are regulations to normally protect the retail investor, the regular investors, in certain ways. So often only accredited investors or institutions can participate in bond sales. But putting it on the blockchain and tokenizing it has various other advantages as well. For example, it's easy to very easy to fractionalize, very easy to pay dividends, to pay shares, very easy to reconcile, very easy to audit, because all the blockchain allows all that. It's very easy to audit. Yeah, so that's pretty bullish news. Another bullish news is that TikTok actually announced that they will be hosting an NFT collection. And you probably know TikTok is a very big company, very big social media company. And NFT, to integrate NFTs makes totally sense for creators to potentially monetize their content, their videos or their pictures. So TikTok is tapping into that, which is pretty bullish. We have shared previously also that Twitter allows payments with Bitcoin tipping. Now Twitter also integrated a blue tick essentially for your profile picture, your avatar. And if you have an NFT as an avatar, that basically the blue tick indicates that you are the original owner, that you hold the IP. So this is pretty cool as well, because it's also a further integration of NFTs, which could be, for example, those avatars, those profile pictures like the ape or whatsoever, or the CryptoPunk. There are many people who use it as the avatar, as a profile picture, and now Twitter allows you to have a blue tick if you are able to verify via blockchain that you actually own that NFT. So pretty cool as well. Then here we have KKR, which is a very large traditional equity investment fund, private equity. They also enter the blockchain space, which is also very bullish. We see overall a lot of institutional interest in cryptocurrency and blockchain space. So this is a company a private equity, like I said, who holds 429 billions of assets. And yeah, so they start investing into blockchain funds, blockchain projects. All of that very bullish. Of course, let's look at the chart. Let's just talk about another bearish news, which we all shouldn't ignore. Financial Times also posted central bank digital currencies may not replace crypto. Yes. Subheading is more of the interesting one. Policymakers worry that the growth of cryptocurrencies could lead to central bank losing control, and this is potentially correct, as digital currencies allow you to transfer money from one country to another in an instant via an app. which is essentially a transfer value via a crypto token like Bitcoin, for example. So there's a big, it's kind of a threat to the banking system, which we said already, also DeFi and so on, which is a larger concern for central banks. So this is nothing to ignore, and they will implement regulations around that. I think it might come first for stablecoins, and then we will also see further measurements against other cryptocurrencies. What that encompasses, I don't think there will be an outright ban, but maybe KYC for all the wallets which hold stablecoin companies needs to get a banking license potentially and stuff like that. So it will stifle a little bit the innovation and implement more KYC and governance. So this is something to be aware of, right? Besides the SEC and all of that in the States. So this is international. It's the Bank of International Settlements. Yeah. Let's jump into the charts. So as we can see, we had all those bullish news like TikTok is very bullish, Twitter is very bullish. We see not a big reaction in Bitcoin and in crypto. I updated my chart here, so this is easier for you to see. I also added some trend lines. So we can see here, if you look at the daily chart, for example, so here we had the run up to all-time high, and then we had the dump below certain trend lines. We had this pump up here, which could be seen as a relief rally, right? Dump, relief, dump further. So this is still on the picture. If we zoom in, we have some trend lines which are broken to the upside. So here this small downtrend just broke up to the upside. However, we have to see a break of 44.3 approximately, and then there's another resistance 44.5, 44.8, and so on and so forth. So let's see if this can push through. So we will see. What is surprising is that actually, despite stock market and so on is dumping, that crypto market holds pretty big, pretty good. So if you look at the stock market now, SPX, you see that I've mentioned that yesterday, that or day before, that if we break below that low, right? If we break below that low, that means we had a dump, a release rally, and a further dump. If we break that, like 4,300, then essentially that's a very bearish scenario. So we have seen that if I go for QQQ, which is essentially all the tech stocks. So here we broke already below that. So we dumped, relief rally, and we broke below it, which is very bearish sign, which is a reversal of the trend of the uptrend, essentially. So we see a lot of bearish volume here. So if the same happens for SPX, to the stock market in general, we have to see. Now, the question is actually how come that Bitcoin and Ethereum, that those assets are pretty holding up, pretty stable, pretty good. So we might see a shift, you know, like some lesser correlation of cryptocurrency market to stock market. We might see a shift towards the narrative that Bitcoin is really the gold 2.0, like a alternative asset, which kind of can act as a hedge, even though in general it's a risk-on asset. So at the moment it doesn't make too much sense to me, at least, that risk-on asset is still holding up pretty well, and stock market is dumping. However, we also have seen there are also other theories, for example, that the crypto market dumps first. Yeah. So the theory says essentially that the crypto market, because it's a risky asset, will have a collapse first. Will have a dump first, then release. So essentially that the dump comes before the S&P 500, because this is a risky asset. So people hedge it first when there's uncertainty in the market before they actually go on their value stocks, right? So this dump here in the stock market could be the corresponding to the Bitcoin dump, which we have seen here in May. If that were the case, then we will potentially still see more downside. in both markets. So it's still uncertain because we are kind of, if you look at cryptocurrency, we are kind of in the middle, right? So we can go up, we can go down. It's just to be prepared for both scenario. If you want to pick up some cryptocurrency when we go down, so you have some US Tether or USDC ready. If we come back with some bullish news, for example, potentially a ETF which is approved, then you better have some game plan ready to leverage from that pump. Okay, Ethereum looks similar. Yeah, so there's not much different anyway. We only look at Bitcoin for the time being because he's the leader. Even though, if you want to go in further in technical analysis, you also should look at Bitcoin dominance, which is essentially the market share of Bitcoin compared to all other coins. Okay, market share of Bitcoin compared to all other coins, like Ethereum, like Solana, like Avalanche, whatever. So Bitcoin dominance is actually was dropping since a while already. We see here in 2020 it was always above 50%, not always, but mostly above 50%, and then it went down, which essentially means that more money flows into the other coins, not Bitcoin. So we see here it had kind of a double bottom. We have to see if this comes up again. Let's say it goes up, which means money flows from other coins into Bitcoin. That's what it means. And it's also an indication of de-risking, kind of, because the other coins are much more risky than Bitcoin. If you look at cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin is kind of the most stable, most established cryptocurrency, right? So therefore, it's the less risk on crypto within the crypto space. So if there's uncertainty, normally the Bitcoin dominance goes up. I hope that makes sense. All right, that's for it today. Thank you very much. Talk soon.